everyone. I'm Carnes. Welcome to Living Consciously. You know, I think most people assume they're living consciously, but what does that really mean? It's actually a rather radical idea because it is about being fully present in this moment, aware of the eternity in this moment, and not being caught up in what's going on in the world around us to the extent of becoming mired in it. It's a tricky path. We had some great advice down through the ages on this very subject, given by radical thinkers. And you know, some of the most radical thinkers were people like Jesus, Buddha, Isaac Newton, Leonardo da Vinci, Copernicus. All those guys were radical. Their ideas flew in the face of tradition. And you'll notice about what radical thinkers have in common is that they almost always present ideas that at first are derided, then are ridiculed, and later are adopted, and they have served humanity, making it better. In modern times, Einstein. So what did some of these people say? Well, Jesus said, "Be in the world, but not of it." That is the most beautiful statement. I quote it quite often because those are words to live by. Meister Eckhart in the 13th and 14th century was a great mystic who influenced many modern thinkers. He said, be not in things, but among things. Be out there among the things, but not in them, not caught up in them. And Ralph Waldo Emerson, who was a radical thinker in the 1800s, do you know that he's one of the most quoted Americans in all of our literature? And he was radical. And he said, it's easy to keep the solitude of your own mind when you're by yourself at home. But when you go out in the world, it's the great mind who can keep solitude in the midst of the crowd or in the midst of the chaos. So all of these great thinkers had one thing in common, which was they saw through the appearance of limitation to the heart of the matter, which is the soul's purpose, if you will. And they saw human beings as able to connect with that higher self and take it out into the world without having the world dismantle it. You know, this is the great path of action. And each one of those people, Eckhart, Jesus, Emerson, and there's been others, spoke to how to live a life, to do something great for humanity while being an ordinary human being. And it was all about the path of action. You know, there are great spiritual teachers who advise us to contemplate, to commune with spirit, to meditate. And there are great adepts who spend their life in caves in the Himalayas meditating, and they're doing a great service. But for us Westerners, for us, we're known as householders who have jobs and children and grandchildren and cars to maintain and bills to pay and friends and relationships and all those things, our path of action is a little different. It is, yes, to cultivate that inner stillness, but then take it out in the world. Now, how can we take it out in the world? Well, let's put it this way. What's a radical way to think about your life? Think about it. What does your life mean? You know, it's not that we're born, we live and die. That's not the end of it. It's at the beginning. It's just one experience among probably millions. But while we're here, the purpose of our life is to bring more beauty, order, love, peace, joy, vitality, intelligence into what we do. So let's talk about our jobs. Let's talk about our daily work. You know, one of my heart's desires is to be so financially free that I can give my work away. Just give it away to anybody who wants to hear it. Travel the world and just give it away because I think it's a great gift. I don't mean my work, but I mean this teaching that I represent. It's called New Thought Spirituality, and it's radical. But right now, today, can we take another attitude about our work? For example, here's a radical way to think about your job. And try this. Just say, today I dedicate my work to the spirit in all of us. May it shine brighter because of my actions. Whether you're selling shoes or toothpaste or life insurance or filling, gas tanks, your work is not the issue. It's who's doing the work that is the gift to humanity. Have you ever gone into a store where someone was so present, so loving, so aware, so happy to be serving you? You don't forget that person, and when you leave there, you feel different than if you meet up with some grumpy sales clerk who just has no time for you and you're just a bother. And you can really tell the difference between the purpose behind what they're doing. The one person is there to be seen and known for who they are and to give the gift of their self, and the other person's there for a paycheck. They don't really care. So who we are and how we do our work in the world is a radical idea. It's a radical idea to realize your job is not to make money, that it's one avenue through which your supply comes, but your job is an opportunity for you to be seen and known for who you really are and to bring the gifts of your soul into the mix, into the moment, so that other people might experience their own higher nature. And that's what happens. Someone like Jesus or Buddha, they quickened awareness in people because their conviction, their consciousness was so radical and so developed and so real that if you were in their presence, they quicken you. Well, so does a clerk in Walmart if they're doing their job properly. And you are a quickener of other people's love when you show your true face and when you're dedicating your life to the higher nature of all humanity. So it's a radical thought to think about that. There's so much in the world today that you could resist. There's plenty of reasons to be unhappy and worried and negative and down and depressed. But that's the easy way out. A radical thinker is going to be happy anyway. There's a wonderful old question. Can you want what you want and be happy anyway? Can you want world peace and be happy now anyway? Why not? See, so often it's an old thought, not a radical thought, but a very traditional thought, that you have to put off happiness until everything gets right in the world. You'll never be happy because this is a changing world. This is a world of temporariness. This is the world of ideas becoming experience. And it's always up for grabs. It's always up for the latest radical idea. So the radical ideas that are floating around on the planet right now, well, let me ask you this. Do you think it's radical to want equality for all people? Do you think it's a radical idea to expect that we do care for our sisters and brothers, even if they live thousands of miles away in some way? We are part of the solution to the world problem of hunger. Is that a radical idea? Is it a radical idea to want the feminine values to be part of our policy-making decisions, part of our government, part of all leadership? Is that a radical idea? Seems pretty normal to me, but it is radical in this world because of old ideas that we're still perpetuating. Okay. So is it radical to want for yourself that you honor your soul and that while you're in the world, you are bringing something to the world that it desperately needs? And that's you. The world needs happy people. I always quote His Holiness the Dalai Lama. I was very fortunate to be able to spend quite a bit of time with him over the years. And he said, happy people do not cause trouble. Happy people create solutions. So he said, your purpose is to be happy. Is to be a happy soul in this universe and to be in tune with the natural rhythms of life. One of my favorite books is called Meister Eckhart, and it's written by Matthew Fox. I've talked about it before. Meister Eckhart lived in the late 13th, early 14th century. He had a massive influence on people like Einstein and Carl Jung and great thinkers of modern times, Jean Houston, all kinds of people have been influenced by Meister Eckhart. And Meister Eckhart, his writing sounds like poetry. And this is what Matthew Fox talks about in his book, how there's a beat, there's a rhythm, there's a flow. When people speak a truth, you can feel it. And he said, it's almost like today's rap music, that the way Eckhart spoke, it almost you could put it to that beat and it would sound like a modern rap song. So the deeper meaning of this, the radical idea of this, is that perhaps we are spontaneously reconnecting to the universal beat, to the rhythm of life. There's a rhythm in the earth, there's a rhythm in your body, and there's a rhythm in speech, and there's a rhythm in creative action. So perhaps it's something of a collective heartbeat, which in turn matches that of the earth itself. So, you know, the call to align with the rhythms of the universe was really big in the 1960s. That's kind of what this was all about. Remember that song by Sonny Cher, The Beat Goes On? I've always said that's true of the universe. No matter what we humans are doing, the beat goes on. It's the heartbeat of the universe, which is localized in us, a radical thought. But in the 60s, young people were desperate to feel something real because we had created such a plastic culture in the 40 years before. And all of the movement was kind of squelched. It influenced our collective thinking a great deal. Those radical ideas that were floating around in the 60s, love, not war, that's a radical idea for humanity. They have gained entrance into our vision for what we want humanity to be, for what we want our world to be. And some of those ideas are equality, gender influence. You know, I'm predicting, this is my radical idea, I'm predicting that the movement to include the feminine, and this is not about feminist movement, this is a spiritual, I'm talking about a spiritual, divine feminine. The movement to include the feminine in the world of decision making is going to be the big movement in the next little while. It has to happen. You cannot prosper with just the masculine alone, making all the decisions, coming from the values of masculinity, which are good. They have good values, but they need to be tempered by the feminine, and the feminine needs to be strengthened and directed by the masculine. We go together. This is a partnership. You know, there's one version of Genesis that says, let us make them in our image and likeness. I like that one, because it implies to me that the spirit of all, the God of all, the creator of all is both masculine and feminine. So that's a radical idea, but it's one that's not going to go away. Not going to go away. We need more feminine thinking, values in all the decisions that we're making today. And that's on a government level, a local level, family level, every level. It has to happen. All right, we have wonderful sponsors here, and I'm really grateful to them for being supportive of this station and this program in particular. And so we're going to take a pause now and let them share some radical ideas for your betterment with you, and we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Attention homeowners, apartment complexes and business parks and homeowners associations. Now is the best time to make your property beautiful again. Since 1967, Gonzalez Landscaping has offered beautiful professional landscaping services to all of southern New Mexico. Our team has been designing and installing landscapes for over 47 years. Where quality is an obsession, Gonzalez Landscaping is locally owned and operated. We are licensed commercial, residential specialists dedicated to providing reliable and quality service. We offer residential and commercial landscaping design, full lawn, tree and shrub care, with annuals and perennials, tree and palm trimming, spring and fall cleanups, mulching and more. Let us do the work at prices you can afford. We service all of Las Cruces. We are New Mexico's premier commercial landscaping and residential landscaping company. Visit us online at gonzalesnursery.com or call us for a free estimate. 575-382-7272.
Welcome to La Buena Vida Women's Club, located away from the crowds but close to home. Come in throughout the day for Jazzercise, the world's dance fitness leader for nearly 40 years. Treat yourself to a relaxing massage, or unwind in the lounge area or outside on the balcony with friends. La Buena Vida Women's Club, located and designed with women in mind. For information, call Diane at 650-9721.
Well, we're back thanks to our sponsors. We've been speaking today about radical spirituality. And radical is not a negative. It actually is a very positive reference to a way of seeing through what has always been thought to be the last word on anything and seeing possibility. So we're talking about us, how we can use our mind in a way that sees through the limitation of anything to what is possible in the moment. This is a great gift, and it is a spiritual path. This is the path of action, the path of conscious living that gives us a moment-by-moment understanding of our place in the unfoldment of the greater good. So, you know, sometimes when people retire, they lose their sense of purpose, but there are lots of opportunities to volunteer. There are so many wonderful places that are seeking you, that want you to come and help them get their vision, move their mission, and make the world a better place for everyone. So it's not about a job, it's about who we are in the world. You don't stop being who you are just because you retired. And the statistics on death following a retirement in the first 6 months are pretty high. So we want to see that we ourselves are the value. It wasn't our job that gave us value. No. It's hard for people, you know, when perhaps they lose a prestigious title or a big income and suddenly they're cut loose. Sometimes we have to rethink who we are. It's radical, a radical new way of seeing ourselves. I think of such people as the master teacher, Jesus, who was a radical thinker. How radical was this? And it still is. He taught that God was within. That's pretty radical, especially for people who think God's up there somewhere. It's within. And we are made in the image and likeness of that source, that creative intelligence. And what is its image? Well, it creates through the word. Let there be light. I am. We continue that process. You know, in modern New Thought spirituality, we say God makes everything out of itself by becoming the thing it makes. And that means it's being you. And that means all that we attribute to the divine, vitality, creativity, intelligence, love, peace, joy, and the ability to supply itself, we have. We're made in that image and likeness. We make everything out of ourselves by becoming the thing we make. How do we do that? Through consciousness, through becoming our heart's desire, through expressing it. So, we talk about this all the time on this show, but it's a basic teaching, but it is so profound. It is so radical that a lot of people go, oh, well, I don't know about that. Or they just can't get it. But it's easy. You can put it to the test. You know, there are old-fashioned homilies that say things like, if you want a friend, be a friend. It's kind of like that. So if we want a greater health in our body, we need to run greater vitality through our system. And that means to be alive, to be happy, to be glad to be here, to be in the world but not of it, to be seeing through the limitation and to take a path of action that serves others. In other words, run more energy through us. We become the thing we want. Prosperity I did a whole show on it. It's another great example. If we want to be more prosperous, we need to prosper others. There's an old-fashioned saying, you might try this one: everything I do prospers me, and everything I do prospers everyone I meet. You see, it's not just about us getting more, it's about us generating more energy, generating more supply, generating more vitality, generating more love. It turns itself into human experiences. Love becomes relationships, and vitality becomes health and energy, and prosperity becomes supply. This is just true. You know, if you start sharing your creative ideas, you just don't ever run out of them. Have you ever met someone who was afraid to give you an idea because you might take it and run with it? That's ridiculous. You know, you cannot run out of ideas. You can't run out of anything you're giving. You cannot outgive God, as it were. You cannot run out of anything that you are generating from within, because that source is within. The Father is within, the Mother is within, Spirit is within, the creative intelligence is located here and everywhere else, that it might reveal itself as you. This is the great thing about New Thought spirituality that's so radical. It's that God is being you for the joy of experiencing the time-space dimension. So, are you giving God a good time? A friend of mine wrote a book called Give God a Good Time. And, you know, people think, oh, that's kind of sacrilegious. There's no such thing. You can talk about anything in this life. If you're coming from love and from your heart and wanting the world to be a happier place for everybody, there's nothing you can't talk about. You know, we have so politicized everything. We politicized love, we've politicized sex, we've politicized government. We politicized everything that means something to us. So people are afraid to talk about these things, and really we shouldn't be. Is that a radical idea, that you can talk about anything you want to talk about? Maybe, but it's a good idea. So let's take a cue from some of these amazing thinkers who have walked among us and shown us the way. Jesus and Buddha and Muhammad and Einstein and Da Vinci and Newton and Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. These are people who bucked the system by seeing through the limitation. And they had a radical idea for what was possible, and they went with it. We're not any different. You're not any different from those people. The thing is, you don't have to be a genius to create a life that is reflective of your soul, your true self, our higher nature. We have one. A lot of people don't realize that we have a higher nature. They think we're going to get it after we die, you know. That's the old tradition. That's the old idea, that everything gets better when you die. I don't think so. I think it gets better right here, and I think you take it with you. Whatever you've developed here, I think is who you are, and it goes wherever there is to go, and there's nowhere to go except to be. You know, that's another one. We should talk about reincarnation someday, because there's so many different ideas about what that is. But in our teaching, we say, you're immortal now. Who you are never dies. The body does, but who you are doesn't. It's a stream of consciousness, individualized, personalized, and it's intact whether you have a body or not. And probably you will, because life tends to keep making things out of itself. Life tends to keep becoming form. Have you noticed that? That your ideas tend to take form if you're really convinced of them. If you have a great deal of conviction about an idea, it tends to take form. It's just the way it's the nature of life. It's the nature of life for thought to become things. The first time I heard that in 1975, I was visiting one of our New Thought centers for the first time. And I heard that man say that. The speaker that day said, thoughts are things. And I almost jumped out of my skin. And I went running over to him after the service. And I said, did you say thoughts are things? And he said, yeah. I said, you need to call up the New York Times. That could change the world. Right there, those 3 words. He said, oh, they don't want to hear it. I said, oh, yes, they do. And I think right then I decided to become a teacher of this teaching, because I know the world wants to hear this. I know the world is longing to hear something that makes sense, that's not superstitious, that's not dogmatic, that doesn't require you to die first before you get your good. Something real. There has to be a real truth that human beings can know. And I believe this is it. The Spirit is in us, personalized as us. And we are here to express what it is. And what it is love, truth, beauty, joy, intelligence, creativity, vitality, and supply. And as we activate those within ourselves, we see them reflected to us in our world, and we have the life we want to live. That's too radical? I don't think so. I've been proving it for myself, and I know you can too. So we have some various activities at the Center for Spiritual Living in Mesilla. On Sunday morning, we have a meeting at 10:30, and it's a very interesting secularized service, a little different than your Sunday service because it's real. We talk about real things, we have a question and answer period, and we do a group meditation. Meditation in a group is one of the finest things you can do for your community. It has a profound effect on the community. On Tuesday nights, we also have a group meditation at our center, which is 1740 Calle de Mercado in the Bulletin Plaza, right off Avenida de Mesilla. Come for that. It's really good for you to meditate in a group, and it's really good what it does in the community. Also, you can buy my book, which is called The Way In. And you can get it on lulu.com, or even I think Amazon has it. And you can also buy the ebook, which is very inexpensive. And these are little daily essays, and people really like them. I've had great feedback over the years about how these mini essays really help people. All right, it's always a joy to be with you. I thank you so much for joining with me. Make a donation to our Mesilla Valley Center for Spiritual Living via PayPal. We really welcome your support, and we know that you are prospered because of it. So we thank you in advance. I send you peace and blessings. Have a wonderful week until I see you again. Namaste.